pride themselves on an opportunity to see a movie that they might have liked more.
Hello everyone. So today we are going to be reviewing The BLACKkKLANSMAN. BLACKkKLANSMAN is written and directed by Spike Lee, who I'm a fan of unless he gives a shit about the movie that he's making. Most of the time, I don't even think he gives a shit. But there are some good Spike Lee films. I'm not saying he's a bad director by any means, but, you know, there's just some films where I think to myself, I don't think he cares about the movie. This movie is based on the true story about Ron Stallworth, who was an African-American cop trying to infiltrate the Ku Klux Klan by calling them over the phone. However, he can't actually meet up with the Ku Klux Klan because, of course, he's an African-American man. So what he does is that he teams up with Adam Driver, who is basically going to meet up face-to-face with the Ku Klux Klan, and that way they can kind of infiltrate it. I was really worried about this movie because the trailers looked, although they looked good, I was worried about the politics in this movie. Now, there's one other movie this year. There is one other movie this year that did not get politics right. I think you all know what this movie is. And so I was really worried because the trailers were making it seem like that was the focal point of the entire movie, that is what it was going to be about. Here, that's not the case. In fact, the politics aren't even like the main idea of the entire movie. The BLACKkKLANSMAN is a perfect movie. This movie is freaking awesome. This is one of the best, if not the best movie of 2018. I could not find a movie this year that entertained me more, that enticed me more. This movie was incredible. It's so different from anything that I've seen this year. And I've seen a lot of stuff this year, mostly bad stuff, but the BLACKkKLANSMAN is so different and so unique, and I fucking loved the BLACKkKLANSMAN. So let's get into it. First off, the direction is pretty good, I guess. Yeah, there are some shots where I was like, yeah, that doesn't really look very good. But Spike Lee actually has some really good direction in this movie. He actually does care about the project. There are some shots that are beautiful. There are some shots that are very, very entertaining. And there are some shots that just look like amazing, where everything is in frame and it just looks so like alive, and it's just so good. The cinematography is also really good. The way that this film looked, it looked really good as well. I think the best thing about this movie was its script. The only problem I had with it is that I kind of felt like there was a screeching halt somewhere where you kind of know what's going to happen, but then the movie kind of like turns your expectations. It's a really weird script, but I kind of admire it again because I didn't think too much of it, and I thought the script was pretty good. The characters are pretty good. I pretty much liked every single one. The only nitpick I have with one character is Ron Stallworth. I wish we knew just a little more about him, but that's it. Like, that's my only problem with the script, and again, the kind of predictable kind of parts about it, but that's pretty much it. All the characters are fantastic, and if that wasn't good enough, all the acting is pretty good. John David Washington plays Ron Stallworth, and holy shit, he gives an awesome performance. It's an Oscar-worthy performance. There are like scenes in this movie where I'm like, wow, you sound so much like your father, and he pulled it off so well. I thought John David Washington really brought a lot to the character, and he gave a very charismatic, a very witty, and a very tacky performance. Adam Driver gives the best performance that I've seen in his entire career. He was the best thing about The Force Awakens. He was the best thing about The Last Jedi. He's one of the best things about this movie. Whenever he's meeting up with the Ku Klux Klan, like whenever Adam Driver is like acting with the Ku Klux Klan, that is when I think his acting is at, like, its peak, because he fucking owns it. And I fucking loved Adam Driver in this movie. Whoever played the Ku Klux Klan members, kudos to you, because these actors give high authenticity when they are playing these roles. You can tell that the actors aren't very comfortable saying some of this shit, but they say it and they do it with like such like care, and they say it almost like they were like they don't even care that they're saying offensive stuff. Like, the roles were perfect, and I think the actors did such an amazing job. Did I forget to mention that Topher Grace plays the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan? Topher Grace is he's actually decent. I'll give Topher Grace that. Whoever played Patrice, I don't know. It's maybe just me, but I didn't like the way that she was portrayed. I don't know, it was just kind of a cheesy role. Like, it was a very, and the character itself is very weird. And I don't know, the performance was just kind of meh. Like, in the end, it was just a very meh performance. And yeah, it was just like, okay. The music is pretty good, although I think they play the track just a little too much, but all in all, I think the soundtrack is pretty good. It's a very catchy soundtrack. You can't get it out of your head. It's very, like, it's kind of stuck in there. It's very catchy. It's a catchy theme. I think they play it way too much, but it's still catchy, and I really had no problem with it. I thought the soundtrack was pretty damn good. Now it's time to get into my problem. Yeah, problem with this movie. Or problems, like problem, but it has like a bracket and then S bracket. Cause the other problems I have are just like nitpicks. I know I've been nitpicking this entire review, but the problems that I'm gonna have, they're just like tiny little nitpicks. Major problem with this movie is the pacing. I think this movie is way too long. I think 2 hours and 15 minutes is way too long for a movie like this. There are scenes in the movie that I think could have been cut out. I think there's just random shots that could have been cut out. Again, like, just full scenes entirely, like, could have been cut out of this movie. And nothing would have, like, even happened. Like, there's a scene in this movie where I was like, why did you even put that in the movie? Yeah, the pacing was a little bit off. For my nitpicks, the opening was a little vague, and it was a little weird. Like, it opens in, like, this Western style kind of opening, and it had, the camera sweeps up and it shows the Confederate flag. Like, I don't know, like, the purpose of that. Like, I don't know what the purpose of that opening. It just should have opened with Alec Baldwin being a racist, because that's basically the opening scene of the movie. The ending is a little weird. The ending is a little strange. Not the end credits. I would never say that the end credits are strange, because those scenes are heavy as fuck. But the ending, it just kind of ends. Like, it just kind of, like, these two characters are just, like, talking. And then all of a sudden, the movie just kind of ends. And I was like, I wish I had, like, a couple more minutes. Or, like, a couple more scenes. If the movie wasn't long enough. And then it just kind of segues into, like, these recent footage of, like, the Charlottesville, like accident where, like, a car ran into, like, a bunch of people. Like, I know that's bad, but the segue was kind of like, no, not the way it was presented. I mean, like, the event was bad. God fucking almighty. I loved this movie. Besides the nitpicks, beside all of that shit, I think this movie is great. I think this movie is better than Black Panther. I think it's more intelligent than Black Panther. And I think it's just, like, all in all, it's just a fucking an entertaining movie. This is a really, really good movie. It's probably Spike Lee's best film. It's more intriguing and more intense. The messages, they're not beating you over the head with racist SJW messages or any shit like that. They're just trying to tell you a message. And, you know, that's basically it. I'm going to give the BLACKkKLANSMAN an 8 out of 10. Is that fair? Is an 8 out of 10 fair? I don't know. I think an 8 out of 10 is fair.
Being an unpopular teenager than any other movie I've ever seen. Let me tell you a parable. Because I feel that people are much more willing to go to a movie they think is going to be mediocre than they are willing to go to a movie that they think is going to be good.